we will be making history here on this field right here in 2 years.
Hi friends, welcome inside our broadcast studios here at UNC Charlotte. Ryan Rose with you. This is the Charlotte 49ers football special. We are updating you, recapping, we're getting you set, getting your whistle wet for the 2013 football season. That means we've got head coach Brad Lambert here. And Coach, it's been a whirlwind few months for you. I know from the moment you stepped on campus, we threw you out there for a groundbreaking. Let's just sort of recap the short time you've been here. What has it been like to be pushed and pulled in all sorts of directions?
Well, Ryan, it's been great. You know, we've been out in the community, been a lot of different events. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been fun. And the nice thing for me is seeing all the excitement around the football program and, you know, the startup of it. And whether we're at the Vision Awards down in Charlotte downtown, or building a playground over at Winding Springs Elementary, or you know, even the golf tournament, the Wells Fargo Championship. You know, we've got to meet a lot of people and be involved in a lot of different events and speak to different groups on campus here, professors, and kind of give them our philosophy of what our definition of a student athlete is, and let everybody get to know us. And that's been the important thing, and I knew that coming in, that would be the biggest part of the job early on, and because we don't have players right now. And so it's been fun. It's been exciting. You've
been a teacher for a long time as a coach. Now you're having to educate everybody else on what football means to the community and to the campus. It's been kind of a neat thing, kind of a transition for you to teach people that.
It has been. It's been something, you know, going into this situation we hadn't done before. Mm-hmm. Everything's always been in place when you took a new job, and so that's been eye-opening for me, getting involved and getting out in the community as much as I have. We've had to deal with the media before, but you know, not to this extent. And so that's been a learning process for me as well, but it's been fun.
Now that's kind of what I want to start with today for this show is I've been an ACC football announcer for the last 5 seasons. You'd been in the ACC for the last 10 years at Wake Forest. I went back and dug through my media guide and refreshed myself on some things. And we've talked on the phone off and on the last several years as I've done Wake Forest games. So a lot of people don't realize that at that level, the offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators do a lot of media already. So doing a lot of media is not really new for you.
No, it's not. You know, all the speaking engagement is the new part. The media part's not as new because we do deal with the guys, you know, on a week-to-week basis. With so many games on TV now, you know, everybody wants to do the pregame thing and make sure that they understand where we're coming from defensively or offensively, and how we're going to attack things, and updates on players and things like that. So we have dealt with the media and things like that, but you know, doing shows like this, things like that are new. So there are new things and new experiences.
A lot of stuff that we've asked you to do as the head coach. I know it's kind of been eye-opening. We get new head coaches in and go, wow, I didn't realize that they do all this stuff. I'd spent most of my time running practice and things like that. What are some of the unique things you've gotten to do in these last few months?
Well, you know, the most unique thing was playing in the Pro-Am at the Wells Fargo Championship. Yeah. That was something I had never done and never been a part of. So that was unique. Building playgrounds, like we said earlier, going to the Vision Awards, going to the Boy Scouts. One thing that I really enjoyed was we did the muscle team with muscular dystrophy. Okay. And actually, you know, I've got children myself, and then to be around children who are handicapped and have a disease, you know, this really was a real pleasure for me to go do that and be around kids that need help, and to help raise money for that cause. That was a fun event for me. I was really excited about that.
As head coach, you're going to get to do a lot of those different sorts of things that are off the field, and so hopefully you enjoy that. I know we've enjoyed kind of tailing around with you and seeing you enjoy those events as well. This is a unique situation. There's not a lot of guys out there that can talk about building a team from scratch, and you touched on it a second ago, but I want to get into it a little bit. There are no bad habits. There are no players you got to get rid of. And then on the flip side, you're not inheriting a team that won, you know, 12 games, and you've got the pressure on you to keep that going. Building from ground zero, from square one, no players, no facilities yet. What has this been like for you? What have you taken on, have you realized, here in the last few months?
Well, just I think the massive scope of all the little details, that's been the biggest difference. You know, you always have, when you take a job, all those things are in place. You know, the weight room, the shirts for the coaches to go out and recruit, the shoulder pads, all the little detail things that we have to do. We didn't have a note card to write a note to a mom and a dad or to a recruit. So we had to design all that stuff and come up with that. And it was hard the first month because I didn't have, obviously we don't have players, but we didn't have coaches at that time either. So that first month was really interesting. It was pretty eye-opening, all the details, and then you're kind of on your own.
Right.
But then we got our coaching staff hired, so we got some guys in place. That's been a little bit easier. But it's been just a massive, all the details of things that you have to do.
Right, the enormity of it. I just wondered who that person was going to be when he got here, and how much weight was immediately going to be placed on you. But fortunately, one of the first things you're able to do is hire the staff, and let's talk about those guys you brought in. Now, you don't have the full staff yet, but obviously you don't have a lot of players, but you start with your coordinators, and you do have one more position coach. So let's talk about those guys, how you came about, or how it came about that they accepted position with you, and the things you guys have been doing last few months.
Well, the first guy we hired was Jeff Mullen. He was the offense coordinator at West Virginia, and Jeff and I go back a long way. We coached together at Wake Forest for 7 years. He was with Coach Grobe at Ohio University, and he was on the offensive side and coached Riley Skinner for us at quarterback. And so I've known him for a while, and he's the kind of man we want leading our guys. He'll represent our university extremely well, and he's a great X and O football guy. But he's a really, really good man, and that was the important thing to me when I look at a guy and hire him. You know, what kind of person is he, and how's he going to relate to the players? How's he going to treat the players? Because that's the most important thing to me. And Jeff is. You know, we've just absolutely rolled a 7, so to speak, in him, and I really am excited that he's here. He was excited to come with us, and because of our relationship, and he sees the opportunities that is here at Charlotte, and I think that was important to him, and he wanted to be an offensive coordinator, and he wanted to coach quarterbacks and keep calling plays. So it was a good fit for all the parties involved.
And then, well, first off, when you think about bringing in a coordinator at this early stage, what kind of challenges will he face as well? Because, you know, you guys are putting together from nothing. It's not like he's got a quarterback with bad habits. He has no quarterback right now.
Right. He and I talk about, sit around the office and talk a lot about, you know, we got to teach the guys how to run on the field, which is a nice thing. Our guys won't have any upperclassmen, you know, pulling down any bad habits. We're going to teach them everything, and they'll become our old guys, and they'll be the ones that filter down to the young guys. So that's exciting to think about. But it is a challenge. I wanted a guy that I didn't have to worry about the offense. I know he'll do it the right way. But the most important thing for us is our offensive line and our quarterback starting out, getting the right quarterback, getting an offensive line that our game always starts up front, whether you're in Pee Wee League or you're in the NFL. You know, you've got to win the game up front, and that's been our focus, is our offensive line and our quarterback. So that'll be the biggest challenge for him and myself, is who's that guy going to be that leads us in that first game.
And he's been coaching for a long time, so a guy you can trust. Another guy that's been coaching a long time, Coach Tall. Let's talk about him. You got him out of University of Michigan.
Yeah, Bruce comes to us from Michigan. He's been with Coach Rodriguez. He's been at some great programs in Michigan and West Virginia. The thing that attracted me to Bruce was he's been a coordinator before at this level at Harvard and Northeastern. So he's going to know. He's been at kind of all levels of football. He's coached in Division III football. He's coached in FCS. He's coached in FBS. And I didn't know Bruce a lot. I had met him, but have two really close friends that worked with him and knew him as a man and what kind of person he is. And they just absolutely, their recommendations were off the charts. So I just wanted to talk to him and get to know him. And after I did that, it was easy to see that's a guy that I wanted to be around, and somebody that we could turn the defense over to and not have to worry about it. I'm a defensive guy, and I'll probably always stick my nose in his business, but he's a guy that I know I can trust, and he's going to treat the guys the right way. And that, like I said, that's the most important thing, is, you know, how he interacts with the guys on a daily basis, and the coaches that we hire on defense, how he leads them. So he's the right guy, and he's the right fit, and he's excited about being here as well.
Now, those are the faces, so to speak, of your offense and your defense. So as the recruiting begins, those are the faces that are going to be in the homes, are going to be out the games in addition to you. Who else have you brought in? I know there's another coach that's here that we're waiting for him to finally settle into a position once the rest of the staff starts arriving.
Yeah, James Adams comes to us from Wofford College. He played for me directly at Wake Forest, played linebacker. Coach Mullen actually recruited him out of high school to Wake Forest, so it's a huge connection there. He went to Northern Durham High School in Durham, North Carolina. So he's a North Carolina guy. But he's just the guy that I've always said if I got a head coaching job, you know, that I would really target to try to hire. I wasn't sure I could get him from Wofford, but he played linebacker. He came to us as a defensive back out of high school, and he was coaching corners at Wofford College. So he's a guy that will either coach DBs or linebackers for us, but he's as classy a guy as there is and high character, and he knows how I want the players treated because he's sat in my room and knows how I treated him, and he knows the whole insides of it. He's sat in that room for 4 years, so he knows what we're expecting and the way we expect it to be done.
Well, then that means, as for now, you've got your core guys. So as you go out now, starting, and I'm sure you've looked at a lot of film to this point, as you start to actually get out there and talk to parents and meet guys, let's talk about the recruiting. Because that's the next huge challenge, and you talk about details and things like that. But let's talk about recruiting. Your plans, your ideas, and what you and the staff have started talking about as far as going out and looking at talent, particularly in-state, but we don't have to limit ourselves to that scope.
Yeah, well, our recruiting footprint will obviously be right here in the Charlotte metro area. That's where we'll start. North Carolina is really important to us. I've been in North Carolina for 10 years. And then South Carolina and Georgia, that will kind of be our footprint. I've recruited the state of Georgia since 1991 when I was at Marshall University, and then had the opportunity to coach the University of Georgia. So we have a lot of ties down there, but our focus will be here locally. And we've already started that process. We were on the road for 6 weeks, you know, starting April 15th and through the end of May. And now we're actually going and working different camps, whether that be at Wake Forest University or Duke University or wherever, and still evaluating guys. And in that process of, you know, bringing guys to campus, now's an exciting time to bring a youngster and his parents to campus because of all the construction that's going on over at the stadium site. So it's real for everybody now when they come on and see all the activity over there. So this will be a really critical time and an exciting time for us to bring people on campus and see our university and learn about our university. You know, it is a thing we need to get local kids on campus because some guys live right here in Charlotte and hadn't been on campus.
Right.
And, you know, you think, well, we're local and they've been here, and that's not always the case. So we want to do a good job of getting guys up here on campus and let them see what's going on and be around us, because when we recruit guys, we tell them all the time the most important thing is developing that relationship. You got to come to campus. You got to spend time with me. You got to spend time with Coach Mullen, Coach Tall, all those guys, and James Adams. You've got to spend time with us and figure out how we're going to run this thing.
A lot of times when you talk about recruiting, relationships with high school coaches, that's one of those important things. And you think, oh, they brought an outsider in, he's got to spend his time building those relationships, setting up his you know, meeting all the guys and marketing yourself. And but you're already a step ahead of that. Talk about the relationships that you have with a lot of, not just in North Carolina, but all around the Southeast.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing. When I looked at this job, you know, I knew that would fit. I knew that we could come in and automatically have some relationships with coaches in Charlotte, in North Carolina, because we've been recruiting here. And Georgia's an easy track for us because we've been recruiting down there so long. And then when you bring your coaches on staff, it's really the type of people you hire, and that's why that's the most important thing, that people that are going to go out, represent this university in a high school, develop a relationship with that high school coach where they know they can trust what we tell them, and hey, this is the way we're going to do it, and they know that we're not, trying to play games with the kids. We're going to be up front with them and honest with them, and that's the most important thing on the type of guys we hire and the type of guys we recruit to bring to school here. We want that type of person that we bring in to be a high character guy that's going to represent all of us well.
I just thought of something. What's it going to be like on Fridays you'll watch high school games, I'm sure, but on Saturday when you don't put a headset on, this might be the first time in a long time, going back to maybe your Pee Wee days, that you weren't either playing or coaching a game on a weekend. That goes for you and the entire staff. It'll be you're gonna develop a little rust. We hope not, but that may happen.
Well, that was a big question in this whole process: is how do you handle the 2 years of no games and a year and a half with no players? And that was an important sell for me to guys coming on staff, because you're asking guys to really not coach for a year. So how do you stay sharp? How do you do that? Our plan is to go to different schools in August, watch them run their 2-a-day camps, because that's going to be the month that's really weird for us. We're 24/7 during the month of August during 2-a-days. So going out, actually spending time with schools, watching them work, how they run their camp, and then even things in the fall like going to a school and watching them game plan. How do they get ready? We know what we think we want to do, but how do they do it? How do they game plan for a defense, for an offense, for special teams? Watch them work throughout the week, what they do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. How do they get their team ready? And I think that's the critical thing. And then on Saturday, we're going to go to some games, and you're going to try to actually put yourself in the situation, especially for me with the game management part. Okay, it is a critical third down. The ball's on the +40. Do we give the offense coordinator 2 downs to make this? Are we going to punt? Are we going to try to, go for it? All those game management things. So I've got to do that, and our coaches will do that as well during the fall. But that's going to be a huge, transition. It's going to be weird for us not having that.
I can see you sort of pacing, wanting to make the call or call down,
That's right.
I can see you get that itch, because that's what you are. I mean, that's what you've been for a long time.
No question. That is going to be an interesting, endeavor this fall.
Just off the top of your head, what kind of access do you think you'll be able to get from other programs, or how inviting might guys be for a person as yourself? You have good relationships with coaches around.
Well, our profession's pretty close-knit, and they're, obviously we've got access to Wake. Coach Grove will let us in there. But everybody's got, Coach Tall's got his connections, Coach Mullen. We all have different friendships, and so I think that everybody will be pretty open. We'll go to schools that we're not going to play, so I think it'll be more than open. I think we've already had some people say, hey, come back, watch us work in the fall, watch us work in August. So I think we'll have plenty of opportunities.
Well, it might be an interesting time to evaluate coaching, not just players, but think in terms of I've been doing it this way for so long. How does somebody else do it? Because as a coach, you've never watched somebody else go through 2 days, because you have your own 2 days to go to.
That's right.
Interesting.
Coach Grove and I talked when I got involved with Charlotte and this job. He and I laughed. He's telling me now that usually to do this in the fall, to go watch people work, watch how they do it, usually you got to get fired to do that and take a year off. So this is going to be unique, and it is a good opportunity to grow professionally, watch people run a defense, run a program, run an offense. So we're really looking forward to that. I know our staff, when we sit around and talk about going different places and who we want to go watch, it's exciting to think about.
Time to kind of recharge.
Yeah.
Get yourself fired up for it, because once it happens, it's on.
Yeah, no question.
Let's talk about it being on. The next, up until the first players really reporting, you get your first practice in 2012, this next year. What is the game plan? We've had a groundbreaking. You've brought some assistant coaches in. We've done the public appearance thing. You've got office space now, and there's hard hats going on down at the other end of campus where your new facility is going to be. But what are the next few things? I know I've seen the war room. I've seen the recruiting boards. I've seen all that stuff. What are the next steps for you and the staff going forward?
Well, obviously recruiting is priority number one for us, and we'll continue to do that. We get 42 days to actually go out and recruit in the fall. We'll do all that. And then that August period, we're going to do that with the, watching people work, setting up our camp, based on things we've seen. We'll do that over the next, 4 to 6 months. And the other thing is we've got to finish our staff. So we'll be in that process as well. We'll hire 2 more coaches in January, try to bring on our equipment manager in January. And that's all based on the timeline of the budget and things like that. So we'll be, finishing our staff. We'll finish it in the July of 12. And then, those really are the major things that we'll be focusing on. Once January hits, we'll have to order equipment, things like that. We'll have to get our helmets. We'll be designing our uniform. Over the next year, we've got to do all that. So there's still a lot of details. And then, the other thing that's, still really important is for me to be out in the community. I've had several opportunities. My calendar's filling up in September and October, and people want me to come here in August. So part of it is they know we're not coaching and we don't have a season. So, hey, we can get Coach to come do this. So we'll still have those opportunities to go out and be in the community. And I think that's really important. We want people to continue to get to know us and know what we're all about, so they can come out and watch us play and, support our team in the fall of 13.
What, just kind of thinking back on it, well, since you've been here and we've put you out there at all these different places, what are your impressions of the fans, the community? I know this is not a strange land to you. You've recruited Charlotte a bunch, but the groundbreaking with all those people that showed up and all these events you go to, and after you're done speaking and folks, that right after the event time when you get some one-on-one time with people and you're shaking hands, what are they saying to you?
Well, I get the question a lot about what's been the most surprising thing in the first 3 months, and really for me is how excited everybody is. And groundbreaking really was the culmination of that. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know who would show up. I didn't know how it would go. And that day was just phenomenal for me personally, just because we had people from the community, we had students, we had faculty members, we had alumni come back. I mean, it was a great day. We had over 3,000 people out there, and that was really the excitement that is there. And I get that when I go downtown or uptown Charlotte. I get a lot of, excitement has been the biggest thing for me when I'm on campus with students, different things. That's been the bright spot for me. That's been the fun part, is how excited everybody is, because that keeps me pumped up as well.
To say that sort of fuels that fire, because it is, you look at the calendar, you think, I'm not really going to be coaching for a year and a half. I mean, but you got to, that's part of the thing that kind of fuels your drive, I guess. What has been, as you look at, you mentioned the way the budget works out, and I know we're not going to have a full team the first, August 15th. The whole team's not going to show up. We're just sort of layer it in there. What are the most important things you've got to do? Who are, I don't know, positions or the types of guys that are more important to get in right away? Junior college transfers. I mean, how's that all going to work with the limited? You're going to be limited in scholarships to start, and then it'll open up more the next year and more the next year, and so on.
Yeah, as we actually build the football team, our focus will be our line of scrimmage, offense and defensive lines of scrimmage. We feel like we want those guys in the program as long as we can before we take the field. And then quarterback, is critical for us. Who's going to be the guy leading us? That's probably your number one spot, is who's pulling the trigger every snap. And so that's how we'll formulate the team and build the team from the inside out, so to speak, down the middle. You want to be strong. So we'll start there, and that's going to be really important for us. The second thing is putting age on our football team. I've said that all along. That's one thing that I think about a lot, is I don't want to take the field in 13 with all freshmen and redshirt freshmen. So we'd like to sign a couple of junior college players this first year and a couple in the second year. And then we have to manage transfers. There'll be some kids out there that want to come back to Charlotte. They might be from here, and they'll think, well, I have an opportunity to play there. But we have to do good research on them as well, because you don't want to bring somebody else's problem to your campus. As when you go out in high school, you want to bring the right player, the right person. We have to do that with transfers as well. But that'll be a focus for us, is putting age on our team and how we do that over the next couple of years.
And then there'll be, the fall of 12, you'll get to scrimmage, have practices and things like that. Coaches around the country, I know Coach Grove is famous for liking to bring guys in, and you're redshirted. try not to play true freshmen. You're not going to have that luxury, and I know that's one of the concerns, but as you look at the 13 schedule, what sort of opportunities are presented for some freshmen who may get a chance to come in and play here?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, we won't, depending on how we do with junior college and the transfer situation, there's going to be a huge opportunity for a young guy to come in and have an impact. We'll have a redshirt class, but we don't want to be there, like I said earlier, with all redshirt freshmen and freshmen. But there's going to be a huge opportunity for guys to play early. We would like to, redshirt guys and get the best 4 years for them, so to speak. And generally that's the last 4, and that's kind of the philosophy we took at Wake Forest, and become an old football team using that method. But we won't be able to do that. We'll have to play some young kids. So, it'll be an interesting situation. But guys are going to have to come in and play and be a factor early on. So,
have you been able to look at what some of these other first and second year programs have been doing? Is that part of kind of your homework and your research, is not necessarily following their model, but at least exploring what they've done to see the good and bad of it? Have you been able to talk to people about that sort of thing?
I think, Ryan, that's the most important thing you can do, is talk to Larry Coker at San Antonio, Coach Curry at Georgia State, because they just went through it, and they can help you with mistakes that they felt like, hey, we wanted to do this, it wasn't as good as we thought it would be, things like that. Roster building. When I study their rosters, they have a lot of transfer students on their rosters, so that's how they put age on their football teams. Visiting with them and seeing how that went, is that the way you would recommend we go? And I think that's a real critical step for us, is visiting with those coaches, and if they can save us some time, so to speak, in the way they ran their camp and their 2-year entrance period, because they've been through it. It's just like anybody that's done anything. You want to use them. Yeah,
I was going to say, we started with, there's not a lot of people who get to do this, but there have been a few that you can consult, and it's sort of like a new kind of club. It's not the old coaches club. It's like the guys who've done it from scratch.
No question.
It's certainly a big task to take on. So that means, folks, you've got a guy here. There's a physical person here representing football, and that means the last few FSLs that are out there, go ahead. If you've been waiting to see, are they really going to do it? We're doing it.
We're doing it.
We got a helmet.
We got a helmet.
We got coaches. And we're going to have players pretty soon. I know that's what they're going to go out and work on. So you need to call and get those FSLs ordered, because now the ball is moving. The train is leaving the station, as the old saying goes. You can call and get your FSLs, 704-687-4949. That's the 49ers ticket office. If you want to see this guy with a headset on in action, on the sidelines, on a field that's not yet ready, but we're building it, and come on by and watch it being built. I mean, we've got stuff moving down there.
Yeah,
it's pretty exciting.
It's fun to drive by every day. You see the progress, as time goes on here. It's going to be fun to watch that stadium come together.
We're going to trade in the hard hats for the helmets here in about 12 months or so, and get some guys on campus. It's been an exciting time. Thanks for giving us a few minutes to sit down and catch up, because we're going to do this again and check you on each stage and see how things are going as you get out into the community and do your appearances. But thank you so much for a few minutes.
Thanks for having me, John.
That's head coach Brad Lambert, Charlotte 49ers football. I just said that, Charlotte 49ers football. This has been our Charlotte 49ers football special. Once again, call and get your FSL, 704-687-4949, and we'll check back in with Coach Lambert and his staff as we continue to build this thing, working towards August of 2013. I'm Ryan Rose. Thanks for watching. Check us again. Come soon.